candidate forum for New York State Senate District 61. I thank Ed Rath and Sean Ryan for responding to the questions posed by the League of Women Voters on vote411.org. I'm suggesting everyone who sees this evening in the video, please go to vote411.org and see what thoughtful responses the candidates have made. Also, you will find the proposition that will be on the back of your ballot for the Clean Water, Clean Air, Green Jobs Environment Bond Act, with a description of the act and also pro and con arguments for supporting it. The ground rules for tonight: a candidate must be present in order to make statements and to distribute information. There must be at least 2 candidates for each office. Presentations are to be strictly confined to issues and not personalities. The order of opening statements has been determined by a draw. Closing statements will be made in reverse order. And we are videotaping tonight's forum. Only licensed media, including TV, radio, and newspapers, are entitled to air portions of the recording in keeping with Federal Communications Commission regulations. All others who air the recording must see it in its entirety. It is the only recording of the event that is approved. League policy requires that no one in the audience records the event or any portion of the event. No one is permitted to publicly display edited footage or quotes in any manner. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to make their opening statements and 2 minutes for a closing statement. And our timekeeper will be giving a warning at 1 minute, 30 seconds, and then a stop sign. All questions are being submitted in writing, and we ask only questions that can be answered by both candidates to be submitted. This forum is designed to be a dialogue between the audience and the candidates. It is not a debate. And please hold your applause until the end. We'll begin our opening statements with Mr. Rath, who drew number 1.
Well, good evening, everyone. It is my honor to be here, and great to be back with the League of Women Voters again. 2 years ago, we did not have this event, so it's great to be back with this forum. I want to thank the Amherst Center for Senior Services, for Melissa Abel and her team, for the hospitality and the great program they helped put on here today. My name is Senator Ed Rath, and I'm proud to represent the 61st Senate District right now in the New York State Senate. In the back is my wife, Amy. I'm an extremely lucky husband to my amazing wife, Amy, and our 3 daughters, Cecilia, Jocelyn, and Louise. In this race, I think it's very important that you have a candidate who is working hard for Western New York values. You have a candidate who is working across this district to listen to the people, to tour the businesses, and to take the time to understand the issues, the needs, and the priorities of the community. This state Senate race, I believe, is very important because we have a tremendous amount at stake with this year's election. In Albany right now, I think we are facing a few crises that need to be addressed by our state legislature. First and foremost, we have an affordability crisis. New York State is last, 50th out of 50 when it comes to affordability, according to Wallet Hub in April of 2022. Also, we have a public safety and a crime emergency. Something needs to be addressed to make our communities safer. Right now, I believe our communities are dramatically less safe than they were just several years ago. Lastly, I believe we have lost the trust of the voters. We have lost the trust of the community through countless examples of continued corruption that is happening across New York State. We can and we must do better in our state legislature. As I've gone across this community, I've looked into the eyes of the people, I've listened to their voice, I've heard their concerns. We need a candidate who is going to do the work, take the time, and pay close attention to all of the issues and priorities in the suburbs, in the cities, as well as every single issue that is going to, I think, be confronted by this upcoming state legislature. It's my honor to be here. Thank you all very much.
Okay, Mr. Ryan.
Thanks everybody for being here today. It's good to see everyone back in person. I've been in the state legislature for 11 years. It's been my honor to represent the North Towns in the New York State Senate. I myself was born in Lackawanna. My father was a Buffalo firefighter. My mother is a school teacher. I came out of high school just as Bethlehem Steel was closing. And we all know the problems that caused to our economy. But that really was a true problem, and I watched how our community bounced back. You know, we have big issues today, but I'm also confident that our community can face those issues and bounce back from them. I've been walking all around the district talking to folks, and they're worried. They're worried about the state of our democracy. They're worried about gun violence. They're worried about women's rights being taken away by an extremist Supreme Court. They're worried about inflation in the economy. We've been working on Albany. We're trying to put money back into people's paychecks. We accelerated the middle class tax cut. We expanded child care. We capped the gas tax, all in an effort to put more money into people's pockets. We've done some common sense gun control. After the horrific shooting at the Tops Market, we came together and we addressed the problem of gun violence. We made a lot of common sense changes. One was making sure that 18-year-olds are prohibited from buying or purchasing assault weapons. But we have a lot more to do in New York State. I'm running because I love representing the people of Western New York. I love fighting for the people of Western New York. And I love getting results for the people of Western New York. Looking forward to the conversation tonight.
And Mr. Rath, you got to get the first question first. Okay. Is the Bills Stadium a good deal for the taxpayer?
Yes, the Bills Stadium is a very good deal for the taxpayers. And let me tell you, when this came before us this past year in the state legislature, I was proud to support the Buffalo Bills. My family has been season ticket holder since 1960, Game 1 in 1960. And the Buffalo Bills are woven into the fabric of Western New York. There's no question about it. When the Bills win, and you look and you walk around the community, everyone's in a better mood. And in fact, when I was in graduate school at Canisius College a number of years ago, one of my colleagues did a study on the manufacturing productivity in Western New York after a Bills win. It's 35% higher after the Bills win. So yes, the Bills are critically important to us here in Western New York. And the stadium deal is a good deal, because guess what? It's an investment for the future of our community. And yes, it's $600 million from the state and $250 million from the county. The return that it's going to provide is going to be absolutely fantastic. You may have seen the renderings of the new stadium, which were made available today. It's going to be sparkling. It is going to be a destination. It's also going to be a destination not just for Bills games, but for other community events, which I have encouraged the Bills as well as the county and the state to work on. So this stadium, I think, is absolutely the right investment, because it's going to provide a great return. And I was talking with my downstate colleagues about this issue earlier this year, and some confronted me on it. And I said, well, wait a second. Every year we give $1 billion to the MTA, the Transit Authority in New York City. I should say, we gave $3 billion for the Tappan Zee Bridge, and also $7 billion for the reconstruction of LaGuardia Airport. It was time that we had this type of investment, this type of commitment, and this type of resources coming into Western New York and not just downstate, which seems to be very much so the priority out of Albany. So this is a great investment for Western New York. Thank you.
Nobody studied me on Monday morning after a Bills game. I'll tell you, my productivity is not 35% higher. We love the Buffalo Bills in Western New York. I think if anyone's going to build a system now, they would probably say, we don't want to do publicly financed stadium. But if you want a football team in the NFL, you have to publicly finance your stadiums. We built where the Bisons play, we built where the Sabres play, and in New York, we built now where the Yankees play, the Islanders play, the United States Tennis Center. Every one of our major sports facility in America is publicly financed somehow. And if some town tells you that they built it with no taxpayer dollars, they're not telling the truth. Because the subsidies either are straight out, like we're doing with the Bills, or it's sideways. So I'm happy to support the Bill Stadium. It was quite a fight this year in Albany to make sure we got that money coming in. But what is Buffalo without the Bills? It is part of our identity. People in our community love the Bills. You can tell it's Bill season when you look at the kids waiting for the school bus of all ages. They are dressed in the Bills paraphernalia on game day. Teachers are dressed in Bills paraphernalia. It means a lot to our community. People know who Buffalo is, the city is, because of the advertisements during the games. And how many times is Buffalo, New York mentioned every day during Bills season between TV, radio, cable? So it puts us in people's minds as a big league city, and what makes Buffalo, Buffalo is the Bills, the Sabres, the theater district, the Albright Knox Art Gallery, and I'm happy to support it.
Thank you, and if you'd stay at the mic, you get to go first for the next question. There was another shooting in a public school with an assault rifle that resulted in several deaths. As a New York State Senator, what would you do to prevent the continual shooting with assault-style rifles in our schools?
It's a tragedy every time that there's a shooting. It's a sin on our nation's fabric, the thought that kids in school, they do drills for mass shooters. I know teachers who tell me this what they do. And could you imagine that? It's become so commonplace in America and made regular. But I'll start with this. Assault rifles, they have no place in our society. The assault rifles should be for people who are in the military, not for people who are looking to buy a gun to hunt our fellow civilians with. So we've done a lot to harden schools, to put in better security systems, to put in bulletproof glass. But why do we need to do that? We need to do that because our society is awash with guns. I proudly voted this year to make it so an 18-year-old cannot buy an assault rifle. You have to be 21 now. We shouldn't be selling assault rifles. You should have to have a reason for a weapon like that. We also made changes this year to make it so you need more training to possess a handgun. I mean, forever in New York State, we had this reputation of being really strict on gun control, but it really wasn't true. We were strict on handguns. You can still pull up to a Walmart, fill your trunk up with guns without a permit. We've changed that this year, and now for the first time, you're going to have to go through a training course to buy any type of firearm. The records are really clear. The states with the highest gun ownership rates are the states with the highest gun crimes, the states with the highest murders, and the states with the highest suicides. So we want to wipe out the scourge of random, senseless shooting in America. We really have to look at ourselves and our infatuation with unfettered right to own firearms.
Could you repeat the question, please?
There was another shooting in a public school with an assault-style rifle that resulted in several deaths. As a New York State Senator, what would you do to prevent the continual shooting with assault-style rifles in our schools?
I'll tell you, every tragedy breaks the hearts of the community. And what we saw on May 14th was absolutely decimating for us here in Western New York. And Senator Ryan and myself, we were together with members of the state legislature as we went and we did work in the community and we visited the memorials. And we looked into the eyes of the families and we prayed with the families. It was tragic what happened on May 14th, but our community responded with love. Our community did not respond with violence. And I'm proud of our community for that because we showed a new model for how you respond to senseless tragedies in our community. And what happened in St. Louis the other day is another incredible challenge that we are faced with regards to violence in our communities. Violence in our communities has dramatically increased over the last several years. One of the things I think we need to focus on is mental health. We are underfunding and under-prioritizing mental health in our communities right now. And in fact, we are closing mental health clinics across New York State. Mental health is a huge challenge which should be prioritized, funded, and invested in, and making sure that we are getting to the root cause of what's going through the minds of these people who are creating these heinous acts. And the only thing we have to focus on is the illegal guns in our communities. We have a scourge of illegal guns all across New York State. That's a big part of where our focus should be, making sure that we are protecting the residents of our communities. There's no greater responsibility, ladies and gentlemen, that we have than to protect our children, to protect our communities from senseless violence. So to me, illegal guns are a huge part of the problem, and mental health services need to be expanded so we can make sure that these tragedies never happen again.
And you are number one for the next question. New Yorkers pay the highest taxes in the United States, measured as a share of personal income. Many other states have tax codes which include inflation protection for taxpayers. Do you favor this? If so, do you pledge to advocate it if elected?
We need to do whatever we can to protect the taxpayers of the state of New York, both residents as well as businesses. We do have the highest tax obligation of any state in the country. And what's happening because of that? We're seeing a mass exodus, unfortunately, out of New York State. Our children and our grandchildren are leaving New York State to the tune of 900 people per day, ladies and gentlemen. We can and we should fix this in New York State because of this burden of high taxes as well as excessive regulations. I had said earlier that Walt had said that by way of affordability, New York State is last. If we just had some creative approaches to tax reform, as well as reducing the regulatory burden on our businesses, we wouldn't be concerned that our children and our grandchildren are leaving New York State and going to other areas. So this is a creative idea that we should be looking into, because at the end of the day, if we're not doing that, what we're not doing is thinking as government should about creative solutions to our tax crisis in New York State. And it is a crisis because in New York State we have in many ways so much going for us, but our taxes and our regulations are hurting our businesses. So to me, again, we need to work together. We should be working with the business community. We should be working with all resident advocacy groups as well. I'm proud to have the endorsement of the Business Council as well as the National Federation of Independent Businesses, because I've been a champion of businesses in my work in the county legislature for the past 13 years and 2 years now in the state legislature. Also, I'm a small business owner, so I know firsthand the challenges that a business is confronted with regards to making ends meet in New York State. So any type of creative tax reform, for sure we should be looking into and trying to find a solution that would work for New Yorkers. I also say this quite often. We don't need to build a better wheel in New York. We don't need to reinvent the wheel in New York. We just need to work at building a better wheel. And this might be a way for us to build a better wheel in New York State. Thank you.
I'm not familiar with that suggestion about inflation built into a tax code, but I will speak to the general concept of taxes and regulation. So we know what attracts people to New York State. We have an open environment in New York State. We have clean water. We have highly educated workforce. We have a terrific SUNY system. We have good public schools. We have a great program for our seniors, for health care. We take care of workers in New York State who can't afford health care by Child Health Plus. So we provide a full array of services to our citizens in New York State. And anytime you hear about we want to make tax cuts, it usually falls on the poorest members of society. People want to propose cutting money for nursing homes. I always want to make sure we run the most efficient government possible. And you hear doom and gloom, New York State, 900 people a day. You hear it all the time. But what our last census showed us was that for the first time in over a generation, places like Buffalo, Rochester, Utica, Albany, we're all growing. So the upstate parts of New York State, and the cities are all growing, and we hope to keep that up because people want to come to Buffalo because we have places like the University of Buffalo. We have Roswell Park. We have big stuff. People come from other states to get treated by our healthcare system. But once again, that's all taxpayer incentives. It's all capital incentives. But I think New York State's a great state, and I'm going to keep fighting to make sure it stays a great state.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ryan, it is now time for
I'll come back.
for closing statements. You have to go first.
Sure. I guess as so Senator Rath started, so I'll finish. So thanks everyone for coming out tonight. You know, I love representing Western New York in the state legislature. I spent a whole career as an attorney before I entered public life in my mid-40s. So I like to think I had two parts of my life. And I enjoyed being a lawyer in different types of practices. I was a legal services lawyer. I worked with disabled children. But when the opportunity came to serve the public, I answered it. I enjoy state government. I enjoy the challenges. I enjoy trying to figure out how we can make Lake Erie and the Niagara River cleaner, how we can get better sewers and better water systems, how we can make our public education system better. I've been in Albany for over a decade. I served in the Assembly. I know how to get things done there. I'm now in the Senate. I know how to get things done there. I'm in a very close relationship with Governor Hochul, and I think it's going to be a tremendous benefit from Western New York to have Governor Hochul as our governor, and also to have Senate majority members representing Buffalo along with the Assembly majority. So we have to look at what each candidate can deliver for Western New York, and I am confident that I can continue to deliver for Western New York to keep our growth going, to keep our economy growing, to keep the population here growing. So I look forward to the challenges that we face. I look forward to working with the community to solve those challenges.
Thank you again to the League of Women Voters as well as the Amherst Senior Center for your hospitality and this forum tonight. I am the proud senator for the 61st Senate District, and it has been my honor of a lifetime to serve in Albany for the last 2 years as a New York State Senator. Before that, for 13 years in the Erie County Legislature, where I worked across the aisle with open hands, where I worked in a reasonable and a sensible manner to find common sense solutions for the people of Erie County, and now common sense solutions for the people of the 61st Senate District. The district, which is now the 61st district we are running in, is suburban as well as urban. It has a diverse community that I have spent the last 20 weeks face-to-face, eye-to-eye, and door-to-door with the residents of this community. Over 8,000 doors I've knocked on, asking them what their issues, their needs, their priorities, and their concerns are. And what I've heard is people are worried. People are concerned right now that Albany is not properly representing them. Albany does not have their best interests at stake. Albany is not, in many ways, taking care of Western New York values. Is not taking care of what we need out of a state government. What it is doing, in many ways, is taking care of the priorities and the agenda of New York City. We do need to bring balance and reasonableness back to New York State government. Right now, we have one party that has single-party unilateral control. And if that happens, doesn't matter which party it is, I believe you're going to see an out-of-touch government. What I'm working to do as a candidate is to advocate and to lead. To advocate and to lead for each and every resident, whether you're suburban, urban, rural, or wherever you may be within this district. We have an opportunity this year. We have an opportunity to bring about some balance and some common sense change back to our state government. I'm proud to be your advocate. I'm proud to be the current state senator for the town of Amherst. I ask you all to please go out and vote. Early voting starts on Saturday, or go out and vote on November 8th, and I would appreciate your consideration. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you both.